Today is March 28th, 2023, and this week there were 68 reported cases of COVID-19 in Charlotte-Mecklenburg County, which shows a 39% decrease over the last 2 weeks. Therefore, all parties are comfortable not wearing a mask. Okay, was there anything on your handout that stood out to you?
Probably like what came from COVID. I think that's like what stood out to me the most.
Can you elaborate on that?
Well, I got my unemployment check, and that's literally what helped me pay school. So that was the only way I was able to pay my first 2 semesters out of pocket. And then I think like during COVID, just having that self-awareness had to increase because you weren't around people that much. So like that self-love also grew a lot for me during COVID because I was more focused on myself than anyone else.
Nice. What feelings came to mind when you were first thinking about COVID-19?
I was like stressed at first just because I think about my freshman year and how we were constantly in quarantine and constantly didn't know what tomorrow was and if we were going to even be able to practice or not, or if we were going to have to leave and just pack up our stuff out of nowhere. So like the first thing that came to mind was stress.
I felt that. So who or what was your biggest support system during the pandemic?
My family. I think my little sister mainly, because she kind of looked up to me as like keeping a positive light in the house because she was stressed as well and missing her middle school years. So I think my little sister was probably my main reason that like I was like sane during quarantine.
That's cute. All right. So now to our actual interview part. So where is home for you right now?
Burke, Virginia. So I'd say that's home. I consider that home.
Solid. All right. So where were you born?
Burke, Virginia.
All right. Same place. All right.
Do you live on campus?
I do live on campus, though. Yes, I'm an HBO.
How long have you been in Charlotte?
Almost 3 years now. It's been a while.
Wow. All right. Describe your experience during the last 2 years or more of the COVID-19 pandemic.
I think my experience has definitely changed. I think the first year here, my freshman year, like I said, it was just stressful. But I think sophomore year, I kind of got in the groove of how it was going to work. And I mean, it got better too, the whole situation. I think everybody learned how to manage it. So I think the process has been just becoming a normal thing, I guess. I guess just normalized now, COVID. So, yeah.
What is your biggest memory from when the world first shut down?
I just remember that they told us that we weren't going to be able to walk the stage and that we didn't have an actual graduation. So, and I didn't have a prom either. So I just remember that being the first thing that I remember was that them telling us like, it's going to be virtually and we're going to have a virtual prom and a virtual graduation. Yeah.
How did the virtual
The prom
work?
They went on Zoom and they actually had like a DJ like on Zoom, and then like you could just wear your dress or wear your attire and just log in and dance all night. It was so sad. Like I just like logged in and I logged right back out. I was like, that is terrible.
An effort was made. All right. So in the beginning of the lockdown, what did you do to keep yourself occupied? What kind of activities?
I began working out. So that was like the first thing I did. I started running a lot around like the lake nearby. I started watching those YouTube like ab videos and stuff like that. I think working out was just like the main thing that I did throughout quarantine and COVID.
Is that something you continue doing now that we're more or less out of quarantine?
Oh yeah, I think thanks to COVID, like I said, like that self-love and self-awareness came into check. So like I actually started working out and focusing on myself and what I was eating and how I was feeling my body and stuff like that. So I think that carried into now, which is like I constantly go to the gym and I constantly like meal prep and stuff like that. So yeah.
So we already mentioned that you did prom and graduation online. Did you also do online classes? Was that an experience that was different because you were a senior?
Yeah, so they kind of just passed us. Like they passed everyone was just passed all their classes for like that semester, I guess it was. Like I remember we met online like once or twice and then had like our AP exam and then that was it. So like the only online classes I really took was once I came, or not, I guess not, but once like my freshman year here at Queens is when I actually took my first online class.
And how did that go for you?
I think it was interesting because it's not what I expected college to be. I feel like you see all these movies and I'm like, it's definitely not it. So I guess it was just very unexpected, but it worked for me. I prefer obviously in person, but I had to go with what I had.
So while you were in the pandemic, what was something that you missed the most from like not pandemic role?
And I think everything's normal now. But I guess like then was just being able to travel because I go to El Salvador a lot. So not being able to see my family was kind of like hard. So I guess like that was the terrible part about it was like you were having to get like tested to even leave the country and to come back into here and get tested to go in as well. And that's like a lot of money. So yeah.
That connects to the next question. Did the COVID-19 pandemic impact, change, or anything with family relations or like just your relationships in general?
I think it definitely messed up my freshman year here. I feel like if it wasn't for COVID, I feel like I would have met a lot more people and knew a lot more people than I do now. But for family wise, I feel like it just brought us closer because we were all together all the time.
So what were some long-lasting consequences of the pandemic for you?
I actually got COVID like when it first happened, like in March of 2020. And I like, one of the big things was like smell. Like my smell hasn't came all the way like back. So I actually like some stuff I don't smell. Like it's actually so weird. And then like hair loss was another one. But I have a lot of hair, so thankfully I don't lose that much. But yeah.
Oh, I didn't realize hair loss was one.
Yeah.
So we've already started talking about some of the good things that you learned through the pandemic. Are there any ones that you haven't stated that you think are important to bring up now?
I feel like another thing that COVID like might have taught us is like also financially. Like that's also what I have like written down here is like COVID actually helped me kind of be smarter financially and think about money more because of how much we had to like think about groceries and stuff like that. And I had to help my mom, so all that stuff definitely went into play.
So how do you think that this experience, because this is a very unique experience, how did it shape you as a person?
I think it kept me on my toes. Like now I'm on my toes about like everything that happens. Like I'm just like ready for another like lockdown if that happens. Like I'm prepared for it. Now I know what I have to do and how to handle it and stuff like that and how to help those around me. So I think it just prepared me for like whatever is next.
And do you think that this is going to have an effect on your future?
Yeah, I think it's always going to be around, but I think there's going to be something that's always going to like come up. And like if it's not one disease, it's another thing that's going to wipe us out. So yeah.
All right. Is there any story or any experience that you went through during COVID that you haven't mentioned yet that you think is like something good to bring up, good or bad?
I think the biggest thing was like the financial part of like getting that unemployment check and like being able to pay through schooling with that. So like if we wouldn't have been for COVID, I probably wouldn't have been here right now because that was the only way I could actually pay for college.
Wow, that is a very unique story. I have not heard that one yet. I've heard a lot of people get excited about the unemployment checks because it's the first time receiving money from the government, but that's definitely a very unique story. Thank you so much for sharing.
Yeah, of course.